The text came through at 7:14 p.m., 9 minutes before their reservation. "Hey, not gonna make it tonight. Honestly, this whole deaf thing is a lot more complicated than I thought it'd be. No hard feelings." Lily Parker stared at her phone in the parking lot of Rosewood Grill, sitting in her Honda with the heat running and the wipers going, because of course, it had started drizzling. Valentine's Day in Nashville, red and pink lights strung across the restaurant entrance, couples streaming in from the cold, laughing, grabbing each other's hands. She watched 3 of them walk past her windshield before she stopped counting. 3 years. That was how long she'd been carrying a particular memory around like a stone in her coat pocket. 3 years since she'd stood at the front of First Baptist Church of Franklin in a dress her mother had cried over in the dressing room, white calla lily in her hair, watching the doors at the back of the sanctuary for a man who had already, as it turned out, left the building. She remembered her dad's face, that slow, confused frown of a man who couldn't understand what he was seeing. Her best friend Katie frantically texting Tyler in the hallway. The whispers moving through the pews like a breeze. And then Tyler's mother Sandra had come through the side door instead. "Lily, honey," Sandra had said, in the voice of someone who has rehearsed being gentle. "Tyler asked me to come talk to you. He's so sorry. He really is. But he doesn't think he can do this." Lily had signed back, her hands shaking. "What are you talking about? Where is he? You are such a sweet girl, you really are. But Tyler needs a wife who can, hear the phone when it rings, follow along at family dinners, just be fully there in the way a hearing person is there. You understand, sweetheart, his heart is just not all the way in it." Katie had translated, standing beside Lily in a bridesmaid dress, her face white as a sheet and her jaw tight enough to crack. Lily had stood at the altar in front of 212 people. She had counted the RSVPs herself and felt the floor drop out from under her life. Tyler had texted her that night, not called, texted, "I'm real sorry, Lily. You deserve someone better equipped to handle everything that comes with your situation. Your situation." Like being deaf was a minor inconvenience she'd forgotten to disclose. Like it was a pre-existing condition on an insurance form. The year after that was one she got through rather than lived. She kept her job as a freelance illustrator, took on whatever projects came in, worked late, because working late meant not sitting in her apartment in East Nashville, thinking about the look on her dad's face in that church. Slowly, eventually, she had started to resemble herself again. But tonight, in this parking lot, with rain tapping on the roof of her car and another dismissal glowing on her phone screen, she felt all of it sitting right there on her chest again. She could head home, order Postmates, watch something dumb and unchallenging on Netflix. Spend Valentine's evening the same way she'd spent the last 3. Instead, she turned off the engine and went inside. Before we get to what happened next, where are you watching from? Drop your city or state in the comments. I genuinely love seeing how far these stories reach. Earlier that evening, before the text and before the parking lot, Lily had been at Katie's place in Green Hills getting ready. Katie had been doing Lily's hair and talking with her hands simultaneously, which she'd gotten good at over 12 years of friendship. "You don't have to go," Katie signed, setting down the curling iron. "I pushed you to download the app. I pushed you to say yes to this guy. If your gut says bail, we order a large pizza and watch something terrible, and that is a completely valid Valentine's Day. My gut says terrified." Lily signed back. "That's different from bail, is it though? Because from where I'm standing they look about the same. It's been 3 years, Katie, I can't keep hiding." "You're not hiding, you're being selective. There's a difference." "There really isn't." Katie sat on the edge of the bathroom counter and looked at her directly. "What Tyler did was garbage, full stop. But you've been letting that one garbage man decide what you believe about yourself ever since, and I'm over watching it. What if he was right? What if the whole package really is too much work? Then those guys don't deserve you. The right person isn't going to see it as work. They're just going to see you. Katie picked the curling iron back up. This guy, Jake, right? His profile said he has a deaf sister, said he grew up signing. That's basically what Tyler said too. That he thought it was cool, and he wanted to learn. Yeah, but Tyler said it like he was doing you a favor. This one said it like it was just a regular fact about his life. Katie met her eyes in the mirror. That's different, Lily. Lily had held on to that distinction the whole drive over. Hadn't stopped the texts from coming, but it was the reason she got out of the car. Inside, Rosewood Grill was warm and loud, and smelled like garlic bread and candle wax. The hostess led her to her table, reserved for two, little folded card that said Parker, single red rose she hadn't asked for in the center, and she sat down alone. The waiter came by, looked at the empty chair, gave her the look. She shook her head. She was already reaching for her jacket when she felt a small hand on her elbow. Two little girls stood beside her table. Maybe 8 years old, possibly twins, both in red sweaters, both looking at her with the wide, unfiltered concern that kids have before they learn it's impolite to stare at someone who's crying. And then the taller one raised her hands and signed, a little slowly, but completely correctly, "Are you okay?" Lily went still. She looked at the girl's hands. The sign had been right. The question was real. What Lily didn't know in that moment was that these two girls had spent the car ride over quietly making a plan. They'd spotted Lily through the window when their dad was parking, and they'd negotiated in the back seat in sign language while their dad talked on the phone, which one of them would go over first if he didn't do something about it. They also, though they hadn't mentioned this to anyone, had said a prayer about it that morning. Lily wiped her eyes and signed back, carefully, "You know sign language." Both girls nodded. The taller one signed and spoke at the same time. "Our Aunt Jessie is deaf. She taught us." "I'm Madison." "I'm Harper," said the other one. "You look like someone was supposed to meet you and didn't show. That's obvious." "The rose is just sitting there," Madison said, pointing at it. Lily almost laughed. "I'm all right, y'all. Just one of those nights. Are you here by yourself?" Harper asked. "On Valentine's Day." "I am." The girls looked at each other. Something passed between them, the fast, wordless communication of twins who have been making joint decisions since before they could talk. "That's not okay," Madison said simply. Before either of them could follow up on that, a man appeared from across the restaurant, tall, dark hair that needed a trim, flannel shirt under a sport coat like he'd made an effort, but not overthought it, moving fast in the way of someone who has just realized his kids are gone. "Madison, Harper," I said to Minutes. He stopped when he saw them standing beside Lily's table. He looked at his daughters, then at Lily, then at the position of Lily's hands still resting from her last sign. He clocked it. He didn't know she was deaf, but he recognized the sign language. Madison grabbed his sleeve and signed up at him quickly. "Dad, this is our new friend. She's deaf like Aunt Jessie and she's here by herself. We have room." Their father looked from Madison to Harper, to Lily with the expression of a man who is embarrassed and also not entirely sure he disagrees with his daughters. "Girls, you corrent just. You always say Valentine's Day is about showing up for people," Harper said, with the precision of a child who keeps receipts. "You said that on the way here." "I said it about, you said it." Lily spoke, clearly, the way she'd learned to in years of practice. "It's all right. They were just being sweet. I was about to leave anyway." He looked at her. Really looked, for the first time, mid-30s, something a little worn around the edges in a way that wasn't careless, but like someone who'd been carrying weight long enough that it had just become part of how he stood. "You're deaf," he said. Then immediately, "Sorry, I mean obviously, he stopped himself, took a breath. And then, slowly and imperfectly, he raised his hands and signed, "I'm Connor. Would you like to sit with us? My daughters will not be okay until you do." Lily looked at his hands. The signs were rough, a little too stiff, wrong rhythm in a couple of places, but they were real. He had actually learned. Someone had actually taught him. Lily, she signed back, and yeah. Thank you. Harper immediately took her hand as they walked to their table, swinging it once, like they'd known each other 4 years. You're really pretty, she said. Like someone famous, a Valentine's Day someone famous, Madison added. Connor looked at the ceiling briefly, then held the chair out for Lily. Their table was in the corner by the windows, overlooking a side street with lights in the trees. Warm, a little quieter than the rest of the restaurant, a bread basket already on the table. It felt, in a way she hadn't expected, exactly like where she needed to be. Fair warning up front, Connor said, signing as he spoke, the way someone does when they're used to doing both. My sign language is rough. My sister Jessie has been busting my chops about it for 15 years, and she has zero chill about it. You're doing fine, Lily signed, speaking aloud for the girls. Your daughters are way better than you. They always are, Madison confirmed. Connor smiled. It took a second to arrive, like it had been a while since it was needed, but when it got there it completely changed his face. The girls had activity books and colored pencils and were settled in immediately, but every few minutes Lily caught one or both of them watching her with the quiet satisfaction of people who were confident they did the right thing. Can I ask you something? Connor said, after the bread basket had been passed around and the menus opened. What's happened tonight? Before my girls got involved. Blind date, Lily said. He texted 9 minutes before to cancel. Said the whole deaf thing was more complicated than he'd figured. Connor's expression didn't do anything dramatic. It just went steady and serious, the way certain people go quiet when something actually bothers them. That's a terrible thing to say to someone. It's not the first time something like that's happened. What do people think they're signing up for that's so complicated? It was such a direct question, asked without performance or pity, that Lily just answered it. Effort. Having to sign, or text instead of call, or making sure I'm included when there's a group talking. Remembering I can't hear my name called across a room. Remembering I can't hear the TV or the doorbell, or someone pulling up in the driveway. Most guys say they recall with it, and they mean they recall with the idea of it. Until they're not. That's on them, Connor said. Not you. I know that. Most days. What about today? Lily was quiet for a second. Today I was working on it, he nodded. For what it's worth, my sister Jessie would say those guys did you a favor by showing themselves early. He paused. She'd say it a lot more colorfully. But that's the gist. Lily laughed. A real one, not the polite kind. What about you? She asked. Why are you doing Valentine's dinner with your girls? Something shifted in his face. Not dramatic, just a slight change in the light behind his eyes. Their mom started the tradition. She loved Valentine's Day, not in a cheesy way. She just liked having one day on the calendar that was specifically about telling people you love them. Said it was a design flaw that we'd only built in one, but better than nothing. He paused. She passed away 4 years ago. Girls were really little. We've kept the tradition. I'm so sorry, Lily signed. Her name was Megan, Harper said, not looking up from her coloring. She made really good pancakes and she thought everything was funny. She did, Connor said. She would have liked you, Madison said. With the complete confidence of someone stating an established fact, Connor looked at his daughter for a moment. Yeah, he said quietly, I think she would have. Lily felt that sentence in her chest in a way she hadn't expected. How did it happen? She asked. She half expected the question to land wrong, but Connor answered the way people do, when enough time has passed and they've stopped needing to protect the world from their grief. Car accident on I-65, Black Ice, January. The girls had just turned 4. He looked at his hands. She was coming home from her sister's. 10 minutes from our house. He was quiet for a second. She was one of those people who made every room feel easier, like whatever was hard about the day got a little smaller when she walked in. He looked up. I spent a long time after thinking the best thing I could do was just be their dad. Like wanting anything else for myself was somehow a betrayal. Inch. That's not how it works though, Lily sighed. No, he said. I'm figuring that out. Dinner arrived. The girls had both ordered mac and cheese without apology, and things loosened up. Harper and Madison taught Lily a game they'd made up that involved signing colors as fast as possible. Lily taught them a few signs they didn't know yet. Connor watched, chiming in when he could keep up, and Lily noticed he was the kind of person who didn't need to fill every quiet moment. Afterward, while the girls investigated a display of Valentine's candy near the host stand, Connor and Lily stood by the window. Do you have plans this weekend? He asked. Actual plans, not dinner for one. My friend Katie invited me to her place, but her fiance's whole family is going to be there and none of them sign. So I basically spend those things watching everyone talk and nodding like I've followed it. Come to my sister's, Connor said. He said it simply, like it made obvious sense. Jessie does a big thing every Valentine's weekend. It's loud, and someone always starts an argument about college football, and she signs everything because she runs the whole show. You would not have to pretend, Connor. I literally just met you, I know. But my daughters have already decided, and honestly their version of this ask is going to be harder to say no to than mine. He looked at her steadily. I'm asking because I'd like to see you again. That's the whole reason. Lily stood with that for a second. Okay, she signed. Yeah, the girls reappeared at exactly the right moment, like they'd been hovering. Harper held out a candy heart she'd found at the display. This one says be mine, she told Lily. We think it's appropriate, outside in the cold Nashville air. Connor walked Lily to her car. The girls ran ahead, jumping over puddles on the wet sidewalk. The guy tonight, Connor said. Did he know before y'all were supposed to meet? Inch. I told him right away. He said it was totally fine. Said he thought it was actually cool. He was wrong about himself. Figured he was more open-minded than he actually was. Connor shrugged. People do that. They tell you about themselves and think they're telling you about you. Lily stopped walking. Where did that come from? My buddy Travis said it to me once when I was being dumb about something. He smiled a little. Stuck with me. She looked at this man. Widower. Dad of twins. Brother of a woman who had taught him to sign. And felt something shift. Not hope in the fragile. Hold your breath way. Something more grounded than that. Like something she'd been carrying in one hand, she was finally allowing herself to set down. Thank you, she signed, for all of this. He took out his phone. Can I get your number? For Jessie's address tomorrow, and other reasons. Inch other reasons, she repeated, smiling. I'm being optimistic, he said. Jessie says I don't do that enough. She gave him her number. Driving home on I-65, her phone buzzed. Connor, heads up. The girls already facetimed Jessie about you. I had no say in this. Lily, should I be nervous? Connor, Jessie once made a perfectly decent guy apologize 3 times in a row, and she still wasn't satisfied. He hadn't done anything that bad. She was just taking his measure. Lily, what happened to him? Connor, lasted about 2 months. Jessie said anyone who treated signing like a party trick instead of a language wasn't serious. Lily, she sounds like a lot. Connor, she's the best person I know. She's going to ask you stuff I'm not allowed to prep you for. Just be straight with her. She know if you're not. Lily set her phone on the passenger seat and looked at the highway ahead of her. The Valentine's decorations on the Broadway overpass blinked pink and red. She thought about the text in the parking lot 2 hours ago. She thought about what Katie had said. The right person won't see it as work. They'll just see you. Lily, see you tomorrow. Connor, we'll be there. All 3 of us. The next afternoon, Lily pulled up to a house in Germantown. Older neighborhood, big front porch, Christmas lights that had clearly never come down and were now doing double duty as Valentine's decorations. She could feel bass from music through her steering wheel before she cut the engine. The front door opened before she got to the steps. Madison and Harper stood there in matching red hoodies. Slightly breathless, we watched from the window. Harper signed. They pulled her inside. The house was packed. Long folding tables set up in the living room with mismatched chairs pulled from every room. Kids running. Multiple conversations happening at once, all in a mix of sign language and spoken English. Hands moving everywhere. In the kitchen doorway stood a woman around 30 with a sharp side cut and the Tennessee Vols sweatshirt on, arms crossed, watching Lily with the frank appraisal of someone who has been the gatekeeper of something important for a long time. Jessie. Callahan walked over and signed. No warm-up. So you read the woman my nieces have been texting me about since 8 o'clock this morning. I think your nieces might be the actual story. Lily signed back. Jessie looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded, once, like a decision had been reached. Good answer. Come in. I'll do introductions. Fair warning, my brothers are a lot. My mom is going to ask you about your career within 60 seconds, and somebody's going to bring up the Titans before dinner's over. Don't let any of it scare you off. The next few hours were unlike anything Lily had experienced in years. Jessie and Connor's mom, a sharp, warm woman named Diane, who wore reading glasses on a chain and had opinions about everything, asked Lily about her illustration work within the first 5 minutes, and then asked 3 follow-up questions that were surprisingly specific. Connor's two brothers, both married, both loud in the good way, made her feel immediately like she'd been at this table before. Everyone signed, even when they were hollering about the Titans, which happened twice before the main course. Hands were moving. Connor appeared beside her somewhere between dinner and the cobbler that materialized without announcement. You good? He signed. Better than good. She signed back. Jessie approves of you. She told me in the kitchen. She used the word finally, which I'm choosing not to analyze. Lily smiled. Your family is something else. They're a lot. That's the same thing. Later, after the table was cleared, and the little kids were watching a movie in the back bedroom, Lily found herself alone with Jessie on the front porch. Cold February night, porch light on, quiet street. He hasn't brought anyone around. Not once in 4 years. Jessie signed. I know it's really fast, Lily said. I'm not warning you off. I'm giving you context. Jessie leaned against the railing. Connor decided after Megan that the responsible way to grieve was to just be a dad and nothing else. Like wanting a life of his own was some kind of betrayal. I've watched him run on empty for 4 years and not known how to reach him. She paused. And then last night he called me and told me about a woman his daughters dragged over to their table in a restaurant, and he sounded like himself. Like the Connor from before, he decided he wasn't allowed to want things anymore. Lily was quiet. I need to ask you something and I need a straight answer. Jessie signed. Are you actually ready for this? For 2 girls who are going to test every limit you have. For a man who is just now starting to come back to himself. For a family that comes with a whole history attached. Lily thought about the parking lot, about the church in Franklin, about the years she'd spent being careful and small. I'm scared, she said honestly. I've been hurt bad enough that it changed how I moved through the world for a while. Choosing to be open again means I could get hurt like that again. I know that, and still. Because the version of my life where I just keep playing it safe. I've been living that version. It's very quiet, and it's very lonely and I'm done with it. Jessie studied her. Then she signed, all right. You've got my blessing for whatever that's worth. Now come back inside before Diane starts telling people you got lost. 3 months later, Lily had a key to Connor's place in East Nashville, a craftsman house with a big backyard and a garage Connor used as a workshop. That had appeared, so naturally neither of them had made a moment of it. She came to Sunday dinners. She went to the girls' spring choir concert in April and cried a little, which Madison noticed and patted her arm about. She and Jessie had started getting coffee on their own, separate from Connor, which felt like its own kind of thing. She'd started a new illustration series, a children's book about a deaf girl growing up in a small southern town, solving problems and going on adventures in a world that didn't always account for her, but never slowed her down. Connor had read the first draft on a Saturday morning at the kitchen table and said, very quietly, that it was the best work she'd shown him. Somewhere inside all of that, she had fallen completely in love. It wasn't the same as before. It wasn't fragile or frantic. It was steady, built slowly by two people who had both learned what it cost to be careless with trust. They were having coffee one Saturday morning, the girls still asleep, birds outside, spring coming through the kitchen window, when Connor's phone rang. He looked at the screen and something shifted in his face. "It's Megan's mom," he said. "Carol." Lily set down her mug. She'd known this was coming. The first time Carol had come by had been stiff and polite in the way of someone trying hard not to say what they actually felt. She'd stayed 40 minutes and left without resolution. 3 weeks after that visit, Carol called Connor and asked if she could come again. When she arrived this time, she had 2 things with her: a casserole dish and a small notebook she kept touching but not opening. She sat down at the kitchen table and signed, slowly, with effort, the hand shapes not quite right, but unmistakably real. "Hello, I've been practicing." Lily looked at her hands. "You've been taking a class, YouTube, mostly, and a Tuesday night group at the library in Brentwood." Carol's eyes filled. "After I left last time I kept thinking about what Harper said, that you were like Jesse. That loving someone deaf is just loving someone." She paused. "I've been afraid. Since Megan died, I've been afraid of everything moving further away from her. Of watching Connor build a new life and feeling like I was losing her all over again. That's not fair to you. It's not even fair to her memory." She opened the notebook. Megan kept journals. Always did, her whole life. "I found one from a few years back, and she'd written something in it that I think she meant for exactly this moment, even though she didn't know this moment was coming." She slid the notebook across the table, open to a page near the back. Lily looked at the handwriting. Loopy, fast, real. "To whoever reads this later, if Connor fell in love again, good. That's the only word I have for it. Good. I loved that man with everything I had, and I gave him to girls and the life I am proud of. But I was one chapter. He's a whole book. Don't try to be me. That job is filled, and you'd be selling yourself short anyway. Just love him the way he deserves, which is fully and without conditions. Love my girls. Let them remember me. But let them have you too. Don't make them choose. Love doesn't work like a pie where more for you means less for someone else. It just keeps making more room. Thank you for being brave enough to show up." Megan. Lily couldn't speak. Connor, reading beside her, was crying quietly. Carol reached across the table and took Lily's hand. "She was always 2 steps ahead of everyone else," she said. "I'm sorry it took me time. I can see what you are to those girls. I can see what you are to him." She squeezed once. "Welcome to the family." For real this time, the proposal, when it came, did not come the way Connor had planned it. He had planned it. He'd asked Jesse to go with him to pick the ring, a decision Jesse described as the smartest thing you've ever done in years. And he'd booked a table at the rooftop bar at the Thompson Hotel downtown for a Saturday evening in May. He'd practiced what he wanted to sign. He'd written it out and practiced it in the bathroom mirror and felt like an idiot, but kept going anyway. What actually happened was a Sunday afternoon in April. Lily was over. The girls were supposed to be at Diane's until 4. They were not. They had, through a chain of logic that made complete sense to 8-year-olds, convinced Diane that Connor had said 3:30, not 4, and arrived home 20 minutes early to find their dad sitting across from Lily at the kitchen table holding her hand and looking at her the way he sometimes did when he thought no one was watching. Madison looked at Harper. Harper looked at Madison. "Dad," Madison said. "Did you ask her yet?" Connor went still. "Ask her what?" "We found the ring," Harper said simply. "It was in your dresser under the Braves hat." Lily looked at Connor. He looked at Lily. "This is not," Connor said, "how I planned this." "I can see that," Lily said. He was quiet for a second. Then he stood up, went to the bedroom, and came back with a small velvet box. He set it on the kitchen table. He looked at his daughters, who had positioned themselves side by side against the counter with the solemn energy of a ceremony. He looked at Lily. "I had a whole thing," he said. "You don't need it." He sat back down across from her. He signed, slowly and carefully, the way he did when he wanted to make sure she got every word. "I spent 4 years telling myself that standing still was the right thing. That a good dad didn't want things for himself. That moving forward meant leaving Megan behind." He paused. "And then my daughters ran across a restaurant to a stranger because she looked sad, and it turned out she was someone who made me remember what it felt like to actually show up for my own life." He opened the box. "I don't want to do any of this without you anymore. Sunday mornings, school drop-offs, Jess's chaos, the girls growing up. I don't want to do any of it without you in it. So I'm asking you, Lily, will you be part of this family? Will you let us be part of yours?" Madison and Harper were signing pleas in slow, serious unison. Lily looked at them. She looked at Connor. She thought about a parking lot in February, rain on a windshield, a text she'd almost let send her home. "Yes," she signed. "Obviously yes." The girls made a sound loud enough that Diane called from the front porch to see if everyone was all right. She walked in to find Connor and Lily at the kitchen table and her granddaughters talking over each other at full volume, explaining everything in both sign language and spoken English simultaneously, with the complete conviction that they had engineered this entire outcome. Diane looked at Lily, signed, plainly, finally. "I was about 2 weeks from taking matters into my own hands." 6 months later, Lily stood in the backyard of Jesse's Germantown house on a Saturday in October. Leaves turning gold and orange, string lights in every tree, zinnias everywhere. The girls had done research and discovered that zinnias meant enduring love, and had presented this information to Connor with a spreadsheet, which he had honored without question. Madison and Harper stood beside Lily in matching burnt orange dresses, holding her flowers, occasionally signing commentary to each other that they thought she couldn't see. She could absolutely see. Connor stood at the other end of the yard with his brothers, all of them in navy blue, all of them signing in low voices to each other. When he saw her come through the back door, his hands went still and he just looked at her. During the vows, both Connor and Lily signed and spoke. Jesse stood beside the officiant and interpreted, because the entire point was that every single person there heard every single word. "I promise to actually see you," Connor signed. "Not the idea of you, not the easier version. You, all of it. I promise to let you in." Lily signed back. "To trust you with the parts I've kept locked up, and I promise to love your daughters, not as a replacement for anyone, but as exactly what I am, someone who showed up and stayed." The girls had a surprise. They produced it after the vows, a hand-bound book they'd made themselves, illustrated in marker and watercolor, titled "How Our Dad Found His Person and How We Helped," by Madison and Harper Callahan, age 8. The last page showed 4 figures at a restaurant table with a rose in the center. In Harper's handwriting underneath, we knew she was the one. "We are very good at this." Lily laughed until she cried. Jesse handed her a paper napkin and signed "Breathe," and Lily breathed. That night, long after the backyard had emptied and the lights had been left on because nobody wanted to turn them off yet, Lily stood in the kitchen of their house, scrolling through photos on her phone. A message came in from Katie. "Katie, 3 years ago, we were on the floor of my bathroom in your wedding dress. Look at you now." Lily looked at a photo of herself surrounded by Connor, Madison, Harper, Jesse, Diane, and Carol, all laughing, all mid-motion, the girls half blurry from spinning. "Katie, I told you that dress was bad luck and I was right. Lily, you've been waiting 3 years to say I told you so. Katie, longer. Are you happy?" Lily looked at the photo again. "Lily, yeah, for real happy. The kind that doesn't feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe. Katie, that's the real kind. Go be with your family." Connor came in from the backyard, still in his dress shirt, sleeves rolled up. "What are you thinking about?" "About how I almost just drove home that night." "I'm really glad you didn't." "Me too." She paused. "Harper would have found me eventually." She has the energy of someone who does not accept outcomes she disagrees with. She absolutely does. He put his arms around her from behind. "She gets it from Jesse." From the hallway came whispering, and then the deliberate sound of two people trying very hard to sound like they were asleep. Then Madison's voice. "Are you all being sappy in there?" "Extremely." Lily signed toward the door, a pause. Then Harper. "Okay. Just checking. Good night." "Good night." Connor held her tighter. Outside. The October air was sharp and clear, and the string lights in the backyard trees were still on, gold through the kitchen window. Lily thought about the text in the parking lot on Valentine's evening. "The whole deaf thing is a lot more complicated than I thought it'd be." She thought about how a sentence meant to close a door had, through 9 minutes, and a parking lot and two little girls in red sweaters, swung a completely different door wide open. The deaf thing, her deaf thing. Her deaf thing was this: a husband who signed her name was a word he'd always known. To daughters who'd claimed her in a restaurant before she'd said 10 words, a sister-in-law who'd become her closest friend, a mother-in-law who asked good questions and meant them, a woman named Carol who was learning sign language on YouTube on Tuesday nights, and a journal entry from a woman she'd never meet who had been wise enough to write down, in advance, that love does not subtract, it compounds. If this story gave you something, share it with someone who needs it today. The worst nights don't always end where they look like they're going. What feels like a door closing is sometimes just a hallway before the right one opens. And sometimes two 8-year-olds in a restaurant in Nashville see something that the rest of us are too guarded to look for. Subscribe to Heart and Home Stories for more new stories every week, because we believe the most extraordinary things happen in the most ordinary places, and the people who stay long enough to find out are the ones who end up with the best ones. 5 years later, Lily walked into Rosewood Grill on a February evening. Same table by the window, same warm light through the glass, same sound of a restaurant full of people who made plans and kept them, but everything else different. Madison and Harper, now 13, sat across from her with menus, debating appetizers with a seriousness that did not match the occasion. Connor was beside her, one hand resting over hers on the white tablecloth, and in the booster seat at the end of the table, positioned with enormous ceremony by their sisters, sat their daughter 2-year-old June, attempting to sign more bread with the handshape of someone who had learned it 4 days ago and was extremely pleased with herself. "That's close but not quite," Madison signed to June, gently fixing her fingers. "She's got the right idea," Harper said. "She's 2, Connor said. "We were signing full sentences at 2, Madison said. "You were not." "We 100% were." Lily watched the three of them and felt the specific warmth of a life that had exceeded what she'd dared to imagine. The same woman who had managed this section 5 years ago came to their table. Her name was Terry, and she had watched, on a rainy Valentine's evening 5 years ago, a woman sit down alone at table 11 and almost leave, and then not leave. "Same table," Terry said, signing as she spoke. She'd picked up the basics over the years, slowly and quietly. "We keep it open for y'all." "Thank you, Terry. I still tell the story to new staff every February." The woman at table 11 who was going to go home and didn't, she smiled. "They always want to know how it ends." "What do you tell them?" "I tell them to come look at table 11. After Terry left, Connor leaned over. "Do you remember what you were actually thinking that night? When you first sat down here?" Lily thought about it honestly. "I was thinking I should cut my losses and go home, that I'd tried and it hadn't worked out, and the smart thing was to protect myself. And now." She looked at June, who had achieved a handshape that was close enough to bread that everyone had agreed to honor it. She looked at Madison and Harper, mid-debate, entirely themselves. She looked at Connor. "Now I know that the night I thought was ending was the first night of something else entirely. Harper looked up. Dad, Aunt Jessie wants to know if we're coming Sunday. Tell her yes. She says you're not allowed to bring anything because of what happened at Christmas. That was one time. It was twice, Madison said. It was. He looked at Lily. Was it twice? It was twice, Lily confirmed. He accepted this. Later, on the way out, Lily noticed a young woman sitting alone at a corner table near the entrance. Phone face up on the table, checking it every couple of minutes. The specific posture of someone waiting for a person who was late, or wasn't coming, or had already sent a text she hadn't looked at yet. Lily stopped, took a business card from her purse, her illustration studio card, her number written on the back. She walked over. The woman looked up. Sorry to bother you, Lily said, signing as she spoke. I sat alone at a table in this restaurant 5 years ago. Tonight I'm here with my husband and 3 daughters. She held out the card. Whatever happens tonight, you're going to be more than okay. And if you want to talk to someone who's been right where you're sitting, I mean that. The woman took the card. Her eyes were bright. How can you know that? Because I almost left, and I didn't. And everything that came after was because I stayed 9 extra minutes. Outside. Connor was on the sidewalk with the girls, June on his hip, all of them waiting. Who was that? Harper asked. Someone who needed to hear something. What did you tell her? Lily looked back through the restaurant window. The woman was reading the card. The same thing your dad showed me once. That the story isn't finished. It's just getting to the good part. Madison looked at Harper with complete vindication. We knew from the beginning, she signed. You've said that before, Connor said. Because it keeps being true. They walked out into the February night, cold, clear, Nashville glittering around them. June grabbed a fistful of Lily's scarf. Lily covered her small hand with her own and held on. 5 years ago, Lily Parker thought the worst text she ever received was the end of something. She was wrong. It was 9 minutes in a parking lot that sent her through a door she might have walked right past. And on the other side of that door were 2 little girls in red sweaters who believed, with complete and totally justified confidence, that they had arranged something that was always supposed to happen. They had. Don't forget to subscribe this channel.